What's up, everybody? I'm Gary Alexander here for Fighters Only TV here at the Muscle Farm gym, I guess you would say. This is a facility
called the Muscle Farm Science Center, Sports Science Center. That's what it's called.
There's a lot of science going down here, Dave. Dave Jackson from the Wolfslair, Anthony Mcgann from the Wolfslair. We're here today to talk a little bit about the camp Rampage Jackson fighting Jon Jones here in just, about 3 weeks, right?
Well, it's a little bit more than that. Obviously, you know, we've got the title fight for Quinton Jackson, but we've also got Rob Broughton fighting Travis Brown, and our Australian cousins, Jamie Tahuna and Mark Hunter here. They're always been great friends with the team, and they're all the guys who are working together. Plus, you know, the sparring partners. It's a big deal. A lot of guys.
Great camp here. I've been here a couple days now, and I got to say that the training is going great. Obviously, we're not going to be showing any of that today, but I do want to get right to some business. Let's talk a little bit about this spy situation, what went down. Can you let us in on that? I know you haven't talked about it too much in the media. You guys have kind of kept that quiet. Tell me what's going on with that.
Well, it's being named as Spygate. That's what the press have labelled it. It's a situation that it began with this guy who manages Jon Jones. You know, he originally, from what I've heard, he's quite a loud-mouthed person. You know, in the community, his name isn't that great or whatever. You know, I don't know how he's like a business, but as far as managerial behaviour, you know, it's questionable. And he started bragging to one of Quinton's friends, a close friends, that he'd know what was going on in Muscle Farm and etc. etc. You know, we don't play that game. You know, we're constantly at the top of the UFC. You know, and we respect the other camps. You know, Greg Jackson's a great friend of mine, and you know, and I respect his team. And you know, we're not even pointing the finger at that guy or the team or whatever. But this situation was created by a loudmouth manager. You know, and what happened? You know, he made these comments to the friends of Quinton's, and then when we started camp, you know, we were only a couple of weeks in, and Quinton got a Twitter from a fan. You know, you've got a spy in the camp. Go out there and check it out. It's there. Quinton started getting suspicious. Then a couple of weeks later, first day we began doing elbow drills. Jon Jones is on Twitter saying, I need to do elbow drills. I haven't done them in my camp. Quinton's thinking more. And then we get reflections back to what happened with Rashad. You know, now, you know, Rashad punched him in the knee continually in the fight. And he'll say himself, you know, for years, in all his fighting career, 40+ fights, fought everyone around the world. Never has it happened before, but he's never seen it happen before. You're punching bone, you know. So, you know, myself, I respect Rashad. You know, I think he's a great fighter. Maybe it's just one of those things, but we're starting to create this air of what's going on. Anyway, Quinton, he's a clever guy, and he decided to put it to the test. I was actually in Vegas at the Magic convention, and I got a phone call in the morning, you know, and the guys had said, well, you know, Quinton's let it known that there's something wrong with his hand and he may need an MRI. I said, okay, let's see what happens. We weren't expecting it so fast. I was in and out of Vegas in the day. 4 hours later, Joe Silva called me. What's going on? You know, is there something you need to tell me? I'm perplexed. No, I don't know. He said, I'm hearing that Quinton's damaged his hand and he needs an MRI. Literally the words Quinton spoke. That was 4 hours after, you know, after Quinton let it slip. Anyway, I told Joe what was going on. I said, his hand's okay, you know, there's no problem with his hand. And I asked him, who'll give you the information? And he said, Jon Jones' manager called me, you know. So at that point, we're like, you know, wow, you know, if something happened in Jon Jones' gym, you know, whatever, we probably read about it in the press like everyone else. We wouldn't know instantaneously. Forget Joe was in Brazil. You know, Joe was in Brazil. So the call had to go from someone in here to this guy, this manager, whoever he is, then to Joe, then back to me. And actually Dana's name was mentioned as well. Dana was aware of the situation. So a couple of calls went on. The point is, it was fast. So I got back from Vegas, you know, and I didn't get on the phone or whatever. And me and Quinton discussed it. We researched Twitter, we researched Facebook. You know, we done our homework. Right. You know, Quinton Jackson isn't in the business of looking stupid. You know, so We done our own work. We made sure that, you know, there was nothing out there that gave anything away. And then, you know, when you eliminate all the possibilities, there's only one answer. Inside the camp, you know, within Muscle Farm, the Muscle Farm facility, there's a whole, you know, there's a lot of staff here. We've got some new guys in that we haven't worked with before. Whether it's those guys doing it. I mean, from the Wolfslair point of view, you know, in 5 years, we haven't got one single whisper of anybody speaking to anyone. We're a family and a closed shop. You can testify to that. Right. So, you know, we know that the core of the team, you know, and all the guys who've worked for us over the last couple of camps are good. There's some outside guys who come in, there's some staff who work on Muscle Farm. Who knows? You know, you could go on about this for ages. We were hoping we go public, we finish it, you know, this spice shit stops. And it hasn't happened. But as far as, is the mold still here? You know, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Be honest with you, you know, Quinton doesn't care. He doesn't care. You know, he like he says, and he said it time and time again, you know, I hope the mold's telling him how hard he's working, you know, how you know, he's had his weight down the whole camp. You know, we're not dealing with a guy who's struggling with weight throughout camp. This guy's weight's been down from the start, and his performance has gone through the ceiling. So if there's a mole, let him tell him the bad, you know, let him tell him all the good things, you know. Game plan, he's got 40 something fights. You'll see Quinton Jackson in every format. It's all there on tape. We don't really care about game plan. I mean, I know maybe the other side, you know, their team is famous for, you know, elaborate game plans or whatever, and more power to them. Maybe that's their mindset, I don't know. But where we stand, the object was, if this is going on, it's wrong. We thrown it out there, hoping that it'd stop and we get an explanation, and it never happens. The embarrassment's then with this manager guy, you know, not us.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how Quinton Jackson is doing right now. Tell me a little bit, Dave, about how he is, how he's training. Everybody says he's doing great. Everybody says he looks great. I don't want to comment on that because I want to let you do that.
No, Quinton's doing really, really well. This is the first time I've seen him in a long time, really focused, really determined. There's something inside him that says, I really want to do this. I've never seen him on the mat before. You know, we're coming to the gym every day. 9:15, we leave the hotel, we're here for sort of 9:45 to start a 10 o'clock session. I walk through the door, Quinton's on the mat warming up. I've not seen that in a long time. You know, it's encouraging, it's really encouraging. When you see him sparring, there's something about it that says, you know, if you make a mistake in there, you're in trouble. He's putting it together, he's putting the effort in, he's putting it together, he's listening to his coaches, he's working hard in every single session. And he's training clever as well. You know, he's taking his rests when he needs to. He doesn't need to overtrain at the moment. His weight's good. His fitness is through the roof. So he's also allowing himself the rest days that he needs, and that's making a huge difference to his performances.
Normally, like you say, you know, Quinton can be, you know, he can be a little bit off when he's training, and he doesn't want to give time out to reporters or whatever. But now, you know, the likes of you being here actually breaks up the day a little bit, you know, because he is tuned into this fight. It's everything. He sleeps it, he trains it, lives it, eats it. And you come along and ask him a few questions, and you're an old friend, and you make him laugh. So instead of being a pain, you're now a break to the.
I'm just a new person to pick on. I just take a.
You've got a new person to pick on, yeah.
Exactly. I just take a beating.
Get picked on by everybody. All your favourite people are here. Chet Congo's here. Yeah. He loves to pick on you. Yeah. We're only missing Michael Bisping, you know. That's so, you know, but, you know, between the rest of us.
Just a final note here. You guys are taking this spy situation very seriously. To you, it's not a joke. It's not a situation where that you're taking it lightly. This is safety you're talking about, not just a game plan. Oh, he's going to come out and know that we're going to shoot in the first round. This is something that you're taking very seriously, and you've made some not just statements, but you put some things into action to change that in your mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we did. You know, for us to really comment on changes or whatever, then it looks like we're kind of pointing the finger at people, and we've got no evidence. The one thing we do know is that guy knew when he shouldn't have known. So we have made some changes, and Quinton said this quite openly, you know, in several interviews. You know, we're not in the business of throwing mud at people without having any kind of certainty about it. So, you know, game plan wise, you know, there is, you know, Dave knows what he's doing. There is a plan. We know how to deal with this fight. We've made some minor adjustments, you know, because of it. We've made some minor adjustments in the camp. But for us to comment on what we've done, the guys out there will pretty soon start putting dots together, and a guy could be accused of something when he hasn't done nothing, you know. So we are respectful, we are honourable. All we wanted when we made an issue out of this is for this manager to realise, don't think you're big and clever and you know this and you know that. We're in the fight business. Respect the other team, you know. That's all we wanted to do. And as far as it affecting us, we're over it, you know. We're over it now. We made the issue, you know. We were open some kind of closure on it. The more it continued and we didn't get closure, the more we feel that we were correct. And I think if you search out there and you look on the internet and all the websites, it sounds to me like pretty much the world's behind us on it, you know. We told it exactly how it is. So it's a mystery, you know. Maybe it'll come up in years to come, a bit of controversy or whatever. But, you know, I hope lessons are learned by this. You know, we're in the fight game. Be respectful.
Well, thank you guys very much. Anthony Mcgann, Dave Jackson. I'm Gary Alexander, Fighters Only TV.